the following session. And today we are going to see more, uh, how we actually create blue oceans. So let me quickly start with this. And as I said yesterday, please feel free to uh, ask questions anytime. And I would really love to have an interactive discussion at any point of time. Okay. Um, so I hope my screen is visible to all. Yes. Please let me know if my screen is visible to everyone.
Visible, sir. It's visible, sir.
Okay. Uh, how's the volume? Somebody said volume is problem for them. Is the volume okay?
Yes, sir. Volume is all right, sir.
Okay. Okay. So whoever is having the volume issue, please turn up your volume. You might have a local issue. Okay. Alrighty. Now that we have settled into this, let me get started. So today's topic is reconstructing market boundaries, and let me show you the roadmap that we are following as part of this training. So what we did yesterday was we talked about, there was an introduction, then we talked about how to create blue oceans through value innovation, and then you talked about, some of the tools and frameworks. And there were some questions about, how do we do this. So yes, this entire program is about how we will do this. And today we are going to talk about reconstructing market boundaries, and after this I have another session. These two sessions kind of merge with each other, so that is why we kept these two sessions together. Okay. um, okay, so this is the first principle for blue ocean creation: reconstruct market boundaries. Why? Because you need to break away from the competition. Now, there was a question yesterday, um, and the question was, how do you actually find where is the blue ocean, right? So some of it we discussed yesterday, and that remains a big risk always. So how do you identify what is a commercially compelling blue ocean opportunity, and where should you start looking in that haystack of possibilities? And can managers even afford to be gamblers? I mean, can you just be riverboat gamblers? Somebody who goes into riverboat and says, I'm going to catch a fish, whether there is fish or not. Okay. So you can't leave it to random chance. You can't leave it to intuition. And so the good news is there is a methodology. And that's why we're talking about recreating market boundaries in a methodological manner. So what is the methodology and what are the right questions to ask? Because of all of you also have research bent of mind, right? So the research question is very important. So these two questions are important. Is there any systematic pattern which has been observed in the past from the data which tells us how to reconstruct market boundaries for blue oceans? And if there is any such thing, if there is any such pattern that, that organization did like this organization did like this, therefore this happened. So what are those, and do these apply cross sector or are they specific to any industry? Okay. So these are two key questions to ask. And when I started, looking at these questions and I went through literature, and like I said yesterday, this is from Harvard and some very, eminent sources. So we found there are patterns which one must understand. So these are the six quick rules, or, this is how actually organizations form boundaries. Now, when you want to understand how do organizations leave those boundaries and create blue oceans, it is important to first understand how were these boundaries formed, what created those red oceans, right? Because if I can understand that the red ocean itself was boundarized in this way using this methodology, then I know I can invert that, go outside it, and obviously I would have created a new boundary I would have expanded the boundary. I would have probably created a new blue ocean. So this is why these six steps are very important. Number one, so these are six strategic paths. Now, all of these six strategic paths can be steps or they can be independent paths. They may not, they need not come one after the other. They can be independent of each other, but they may have to run concurrently with each other. They may all have to run together, or a few of these may be required. So this is slightly complex. Okay. So we will go over these in great detail today. Number one, the industry is normally defined based on similarity. Okay. Industry is defined based on similarity of user needs, or of some features offered in a certain product. And most of the players within the industry, they focus on being best within that industry. So this is the first boundary they create, that we have to be best within this. So there you have created a boundary. Number two, seeking inclusivity to generally accepted strategic groups. For example, we are the best luxury car maker. Okay, so now you have defined your boundary. You are a luxury car maker. You're going to compete with who? Anyone can tell me who's the luxury car maker here? And any luxury car maker in India? Anyone can tell me? Yes, I'm waiting. Am I audible? Okay, Volvo. Yes.
You are
Hmm.
audible, sir.
Okay. Yes. Any other? Do we have BMW here in India?
Yes.
BMW? Yeah. Do we have Mercedes in India?
Yes. Yes,
Yes.
sir.
Yes. Okay. So we have these vehicles, right? I mean, we have these luxury automobiles. So when an organization says we are a luxury car maker, you have boundarized yourself. Okay. So I hope this example is clear. Now, next, focus on the same buyer group. Now, what is a buyer group? A buyer group is like a purchaser. Okay. Is it a purchaser? Is it a user? Or is it an influencer? So we will go into details of this. Okay. But buyer groups are different, and they have different needs, and they have different value perception. Then the fourth one is define the scope of products and services offered similarly to others in the industry. Okay, we will look at this. Then fifth is accept industry's functional or emotional orientation. Okay, so what is functional orientation? Some people buy a laptop based on this has so much GB RAM, so much this, so much that, so much that, and some people say this laptop isn't good looking. This laptop is, it has got a very good configuration, but I'm not impressed. It doesn't look good. It doesn't feel good. Whatever. Okay. So there is a functional aspect. There is an emotional aspect, and the toughest of all is being focused on the same point in time, because we all live at some point in time. So most of the people who are actually the blocks which make up organizations, right? Organizations are made of people, right? Is it right? So if organizations are made of people and people have a limited time span, so they tend to focus on the same point in time. Okay. So this is, but then this creates a boundary. I'm only looking at my retirement. Hey, listen, I should do so many papers by this date, by this time. Then I will become a professor. Then I will become I will seek a position as a pro vice chancellor. And then I will seek a position as a, whatever. Okay. So you have boundarized your potential, what you're going to do by the age of 60. Okay. So this is what it is. But we're going to go into details now. Now, one by one, we're going to look at all these paths. Now, as I said before, these six paths, you may take one of those paths, you may take all of these paths, you may take some of these paths, you may combine them together, you may try to implement them separately. All possibilities are open. Okay, so look across alternate industries. Okay, what does this mean? So there is something called alternatives and there is something called substitutes. Now, whenever there is an industry, the realistic competition actually comes not only intra-industry within the industry players, it also comes from outside the industry, which is from alternatives and substitutes. Can anyone tell me what are alternatives and what are substitutes? Can anyone give me an example? Because these are core concepts, and I need your participation. I need that this should be completely clear because we are here to discuss this. This is not, I'm not teaching anything here. You know, we are here to discuss and simulate a live workshop, as if we are sitting in a live room, right? So, can anyone tell me what's the difference between an alternative and a substitute? Anyone, please take a guess. Or just talk about one of those. If you know one of those, just tell me alternatives is this and substitute is this. That is fine. Slightly tricky, is it? I think somebody is trying to speak up. Is it? No? Okay. So what's an alternative and what's a substitute? Yes, I heard something.
Sir, good morning.
Yes, good morning.
Yeah, Rajesh here. Alternative means from the same product category, we can take some product as alternative product, some brand otherwise.
Okay. And
Whereas
substitute?
some other product will function, will fulfill the function of that previous product. For
Let's say,
example, digital camera action can be performed by our cell phone, that is the smartphone.
okay.
That is substitute.
Hmm. So very good. So very good. I think that is going in the right direction. So
Thank you.
alternatives, when you want to take a picture, okay, the alternative is either a phone camera or your laptop camera or something else or something else. So these are all alternatives. But what's a substitute for a picture? Perhaps a video is a substitute for a picture, right? So similarly, there is a substitute. For example, in an organization, a substitute is a person who can fill in the place. Hey, I am the supervisor for this exam. I need to go out, and you are the supervisor. So will you please substitute for me, right? So substitute is somebody who provides the same functionality, but alternatives can have different functionality. I have 2 hours to spend in the evening. So I have alternatives. I can go and watch opera. I can go and play a video game for 2 hours in the game bar, or I can go and watch a movie. So these are my alternatives. Now all of these alternatives, they provide different functionality. Yes, they will consume the same 2 hours, but they provide different functionality. Okay, so substitutes are constrained by functionality because they offer same or similar functionality, but alternatives provide value differently. They may provide different functionality, but they may provide the same value or the value sought by the user. Okay, is this clear? Because this is important. If we have to understand this, this is very important. And because we're in this workshop to create blue oceans, if we lose out on any of these basic concepts, any of these 6 paths, you will not be able to apply. Okay, and you can keep learning. So this will stay with you. Okay, so substitutes and alternatives also have, you know, forms, a different form. They can be in the form of a product, or they can be in the form of a service, or a combination, or something else. They can have shapes, physical or tangible or non-tangible, like that. Okay, and therefore this decision making, when a buyer is seeking a particular service or a product, this is a rather complex decision, and it is often not even known to the buyer themselves because it has been built into their subconscious. Okay, so this is the complexity that comes in. But this this is what, for example, I'm going to again, so we talked about the theory. Now we will talk about the implementation that was done, the case study. So NTT Docomo is a very, very, very eminent organization, and They created the biggest success in telecom in Japan since the 1980s after understanding this exact same concept that we talked about. Look across alternative industries and how we will talk about it now. Okay. So, anyone has heard of NTT or Docomo, by the way? Anyone remembers anything called Docomo in India? Which?
Tata Docomo?
Yes, 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 exactly. So Tata Docomo, right? So so Docomo even came to India and they tied up with Tata. And why did Tata go to Docomo? You will understand now because Docomo was huge success, huge, terrific success. Um, NTT Docomo launched a service called iMode, a product actually. It was a service and a product combination, and we'll see that in 1999. And they were pondering over why are people not adopting internet. Now this is 1999. It may be difficult for us to imagine, for some of us who are younger, because the young ones have grown up with internet in the last few years. But for people like me, who are kind of like tech dinosaurs, uh, we saw this happening. People were reluctant. Even today, a lot of people say, why are you emailing? अरे आ जाओ ना बात कर लेते हैं, come and sit and we'll talk, right? And why are you doing this? Why? So in those days, 1999, when internet happened in Japan, people were not adopting this. And then NTT Docomo, this company said, what do we do? And they had the same situation. Now why did I choose this case study for you? Because yesterday I saw repeatedly across sessions there was a question, so telecom sector, right? So this is telecom sector, same problem. Now see how beautifully they addressed it at that time. This solution may not be relevant today, but we can draw lessons, and there definitely is something to be done from this case study. So that I promise you. Okay. So what was the market scenario at that time? A lot of new companies had come in. A few of them were dying because of price competition, and they were unable to cope up with technological race. The costs were rising because of competition, and the ARPU, which is the average revenue per user, it was falling. Okay, this is exactly the same scenario in telecom sector at that time. And then Docomo said, we don't understand why are people not adopting internet. We want to give them data, we want to give them internet, and why are they not adopting? And how do we move this market? It is bloody red ocean, right? So bloody in the sense of the color red, bloody red ocean. Okay. So what they did was they said we need to get an insight into people. What is the problem? Why are people not even choosing to even buy internet devices? And internet devices they found were very expensive. Okay. Not that, I mean, when I say found, you understand, right? So there is a dedicated team, it goes out and it does all this. So they find, right? So they found that this was very expensive, number one. Number two, what were the advantages people were getting? There were so many things internet had to offer, so many things, and it was overwhelming for the Japanese people. Why was it overwhelming? Anyone can tell me one characteristic about the Japanese society? Anyone here who has ever read about Japan? What kind of people they are? What do they do? Anyone, please? Anyone has any inclination, any knowledge, any top 3 4 things about Japan, about the Japanese people? I'm waiting.
They'll be working with the same organization throughout their career.
Very good. Okay, so that is loyalty. Very good. What else?
Collectivism,
Huh? Please. Yes.
collectivism, group behavior.
Activism. Very good. Excellent. Excellent. Group behavior. Yes, we are getting close. Third,
Traditional,
traditional. And yes, very good. Traditional.
So
So
they
I think what
believe in continuous improvement, that is Kaizen.
continuous improvement. Yes, we are getting very close. I think we'll be there in 1 or 2 more points. Yes.
Sir, there will be a proper succession planning.
Proper succession planning. Yes. Also go towards their work life think about that and their entire day and all that. I'm giving you a clue because we've gone to five and we've come very close. We've actually built the entire environment. Now we will answer this question. So
Belongingness.
belongingness, yes.
Extremely hardworking.
Extremely hardworking, excellent. So now this seventh point leads us to something else. Okay, all these six points built up the foundation, and I will explain. Okay, the seventh one actually almost leads us to the answer. So I will give it out now because I mean we are there. Okay, the answer is they like belongingness. They are a community. They work very hard. They like to improve. Okay, all this means a lot of pressure on their time, right? All of this means what? See, this is why I wanted your participation. Excellent, superb. So all of these factors combined means this is a society which is trying to continuously improve. They want to go together. They believe in collectivism. They are traditional. They want to care for people at home. They don't have time for useless things. They are like, okay, give me something which works. Okay. So extreme time pressure. So what they found was people, they are not like American people there, or they're not like the Europeans who have leisurely life. Hey, listen, I have a 2 hours lunch, in Spain. I don't know how many of you have worked with the Spanish people, but in general, a lot of places in Europe, you have like 1.5 hours, 2 hours lunch, which by no means, you can even think of in any other part of the world. But Japanese are always continuously under time pressure because this is a society evolving, continuously caring for the old, looking after the kids, doing this. Women have to be perfect housewives, men have to be perfect fathers, they're hard pressed. So what entity Docomo learned was that we can't just give them a device which opens them to everything in the world and does not give them value. So what do? They created a new thing called I mode. Now, this I mode was basically this. This is the I mode phone with a single button. Okay. And it had, now I'll go back to the previous slide. Okay. So it had these killer apps email, single button. I mode, you press I mode, you get all these options. Do you want to check your email? Do you want to look at news? Do you want to look at weather forecast? Do you want to check phone directory? If you need a doctor or this or that, or do you want to look at entertainment options? And all this was, by the way, curated content. The word curated has started coming into mainstream online, content now for the last few years. I'm sure we have heard the word curated, right? Everyone has probably heard that word. Curated, curated. Curated means, for example, this is curated content. This content that I pulled out from different sources for you is kind of curated because I have filtered out all that is not relevant, right? So they created a curated content which is relevant, which provides value. And then what happened? They created this device. Now, this is a phone of that era, by the way. So please don't compare it to the smartphones, the touch screens, and all that. Okay. But imagine that on that network, I mean, you could get all that information, useful information on this screen. And, they have sharp eyes, by the way. Most of the Japanese, they have fish diet. Okay. So Japanese, the eyes are very good. Eyesight is not a normal, is normal, and in fact better, and they live the longest on this planet. Okay, so they for them this was not a problem. For us, some of us might feel, and rightly so. Okay, so then what did this success story of Docomo give to them? Why was this so celebrated? I mode became an instant success. Instant success. People said, wow, this is what we need. It generated 30% higher revenues per subscriber, 30% higher compared to what was happening to everyone else. They were dying because of price competition. Look at these people. They got 30% extra revenue per subscriber. Then Docomo became a global player because of this. Then the subscriber base in Japan became the most connected society of the world. They had the highest internet penetration, the highest internet usage. within record time. They were far ahead of the US, and in fact, they beat the US and everywhere else. They created history with this. And iMode phones were also connected to other services. And guess what was the side benefit? What was coming? What do we know today? Um, 21 years later, what do we know today? What is your one of the workshops going to be on IoT, Internet of Things, right? So all this, when Docomo brought this revolution of connectivity and information age and data, look at the country. They got a chance to be a leader forever in IoT and all those internet age electronics. Again, the entire country got a new lease because now they were far ahead. They were connecting everyone with everything, and they had data, and they could have analytics, and they could have anything. We are doing this now. We still, anyone has any data of how many people are not connected in India with internet? Anyone? Our internet penetration is still very low. I will leave that as a question. I want you to find out. Okay? Because look at that market and try, we have to innovate and find out a solution for them. So I want to leave that as a homework for you. That might also be there in your exam, by the way. Okay? Small clue. Okay. Next path is look across strategic groups within industries. Now, we defined what is a strategic group, right? So we took this example and I put it here also. For example, Mercedes, BMW, and Jaguar, they focus on outcompeting each other in the luxury market. They are the luxury car makers, so they will compete with each other, right? And they will do whatever to try and beat each other. But Jaguar will never compete with Maruti 800. BMW will not. And some of you might say, sir, what are you telling? Should it, I mean, is it logical, right? Well, this is the entire thing. We need to get rid of what we have been fed as paradigms. Okay. I'm not saying, by the way, don't go and tell Jaguar, once upon a time there came a trainer, his name was Dr. Nitin Varma. Okay. So, and he told me that, you should go and compete with Maruti. No, I'm not saying that. See, the point is, this is what has been happening. But once we get out of this mindset, we start seeing the possibilities. This is the red ocean. Remember, we are going to create blue oceans. That is what we're trying to do. Okay. So look at this gym now. Do you see a gym on your screen? Yes? Please? Can I have a
Yes, sir.
response? Do you
Yes,
see?
sir.
Yes,
Yes, sir.
sir.
Yes?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So there is a reason why I'm showing you this picture and there is another picture. See, I'm trying to make this as much, a thinking burden on you because I want you to think. Because unless you think, now this is the part where you have to think and think. The more you think and the more you discuss, the better you will be able to take out from this session. Okay. So please observe this picture very carefully. Have you observed this picture carefully? I'm going to the next picture. Okay. Take a look at this picture. Okay. So you saw two pictures. Now quickly, I just need 5 key points that you observed from these two pictures.
So your screen is not visible.
Uh,
Somebody
which
else started presenting.
is it? Um, it says click to cancel your presentation, but it tells me, oh, Maheshwara Maleshappa is presenting. Okay, somebody else seems took the control. Okay, I'll take the control back. Somebody must have accidentally clicked. Okay, no worries, no worries. It happens. These are tools, and things happen. So please don't feel bad, whoever that was. Okay, that's okay. It's perfectly normal. Uh, Yes, Dr. Ginny Saxena has come back with the response. Excellent, Dr. Ginny, superb. And we will keep that in perspective. Okay. Uh, is the screen visible now, by the way?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, just a little, thing that happened, you know, by chance. So, whoever that was, please don't feel bad and don't, feel embarrassed. It's okay. We are all friends and colleagues here, and we are here for a bigger purpose. So, let's focus on the learning. Um, okay. So, what are the two things that you observe from this picture and from this picture? Any observations between these two
Uh,
pictures?
Sir, from these two picture, one it is automated, another is a man-made. The first picture which has shown with the people are
Mm-hmm.
with the power. The
Mm-hmm.
second which has shown it is not with the power, where the human have to involve themselves to build their physique. First thing.
Mm-hmm.
Second thing where uh, the pressure where they're going to have with this first picture will
Mm-hmm.
be totally different from second picture, sir, from my point.
Okay, okay, fair enough, fair enough. And let me ask, the ladies in this group, the women in this group, uh, do you have any difference of opinion? Do you have any other observations about these
Uh,
two games?
I could find two differences. First is the obviously the ambience, the color scheme.
Mm-hmm.
So more colorful in the second picture.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure whether I'm correct or not, but in the first picture they are exercising their legs also. So
Uh-huh.
maybe that could be one thing.
Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. Fair enough. You did bring out the color difference, which I was hoping that you would. So that is very good. So now the reason I've shown you these two gyms, and the reason why I requested specifically the ladies' perception also, is that now I'm going to discuss a case about a gym called Curves. Now Curves is a gym which is not like the one which is on the screen right now. How many women are actually comfortable in a setting like this? Although, so this picture I put it on purpose. Okay. This picture I put on purpose because I did not want to seed your mind with with something. I just wanted to show you and ask. But actually, you know, uh, if this was a woman's gym, the second picture, okay, would women be more comfortable here? Also because of the color and the ambience, and also look at the layout. Now I have to point it out. Okay, look at the layout and look at this layout. Now this layout is a typical gym layout where, by the way, I'm not sure. Someone said something. Okay, you were going in that direction, and you possibly had that in your mind. Okay, but I will actually make it very clear. All these machines are laid in parallel to each other. Do you see that? You know why that is done in most of the gyms which are uni gender? It is done because women, they have found, are not comfortable facing men, and then they lose the women clientele, because women don't like to be in front of men and kneeling down, tying their laces, bending, turning around, doing this. And then guys are also not comfortable when they bend, their t-shirt goes up from behind and they're like, oh my god, she might be watching, you know and stuff like that. So look at this layout. This is in parallel. You look straight, you don't look at each other. It's a concept which has been designed to keep that social thing in mind, right? But look at this picture now. This other picture. What does this give? This gives closeness. So they found. So this was a research, done by this organization called Curves, and they became a huge success in the U.S. Now, which country did I say? Anyone? Did you hear that?
Yeah, US.
So India is conservative, right? You still feel that? You still
Things are
feel
changing. Yeah, things are changing.
Indian women are very conservative? Yeah. Well, yes. But then, conservative has its own scale. It has its own levels. So in the US, women wanted their own gym where they can have closeness, where they can talk to each other, be friends with each other, not be intimidated by each other or by the other gender. So this is so revealing. That is why I chose this case study, because I want to always dispel certain myths also. This is an opportunity also to learn a little more than what normal case studies teach, right? So this is what curves did. Curves eliminated traditional health club features, like special machines. And you made that observation, the gentleman who spoke, right? I forgot your name. I missed your name because unfortunately, your name doesn't stick here, right? So you did say this, and even you, ma'am, when you were saying, you said about something about the machines. So they simplified the machines. Women don't do big loads. Women don't do big machines. Okay, so why spend so much on big machines for only 50% of your user base? And then you have uncertainty about that user base. So this curves gym is totally focused on women. They did away with all those special machines, food, spa, pool, locker rooms, all those extra high costs. Remember, we talked about value innovation. Value innovation happens at the intersection of value and innovation, and that happens at the intersection when you have a triangle, inverted triangle, going downwards, which is cost, and value, which is going up, right? So that is where value innovation happens. So they removed all that. They in fact went by a very traditional thing, which is which almost made me laugh, because that's an Indian thing. They put curtains for changing areas. Just imagine that in the US, and this is popular. So they put that, and then women are like, okay, it's only us here. What's the big deal? I'll just go behind a curtain, change, come back. I'm done. I'll go back, change, go out. That's it. So see how things change, how simplified this was. And this is their strategic canvas. And women totally loved it. you know they could talk to each other, they could take each other's advice. They could discuss a little bit of issues. Hey, listen, you know what, I think I have this kind of oily skin. What are you doing? Your skin is glowing. Okay, it's all right. So they created those communities. And voila, voila is French. Okay? So I think many of us might know. Voila means awesome. So there you go. So this company grew so phenomenally. It has done unimaginably well. And in American culture, just imagine. Okay, so the next path is look across chain of buyers. Now, what is this chain of buyers? Who buys your product? Who's the person who's actually buying your product? So do we all know there is a purchaser, there is a user, and there's an influencer? I'm asking this to my audience here. Do we know that when somebody goes to buy the product, this person is technically a purchaser? Hey, listen, son, can you get this medicine? Now, this medicine is not for the son. This is probably the father asking, or the grandpa, right? So the purchaser is somebody else, the user is somebody else, the influencer is perhaps a doctor or the father who says, listen, I think your grandpa needs a cold medicine. Okay, can you, son, can you get this? Or girl, can you go out and get this medicine for your grandma? Right, whatever. So so there are three different levels, is what they have found out. A purchaser can be different, the user can be different, the influencer can be different. And there are a couple of examples to understand this better, again, because this is a core concept. Okay, now why is it important to understand this? Because the three may or may not be the same. Okay, so it's a nuclear family. uh, Even forget about children. It's just two newly marrieds. It's a newly married couple, man and woman. So uh, the lady needs something. Okay, so she's got whatever, and she says, okay, I need this. So she is the decision maker. She is going to go out, and she knows how to drive or whatever, and she decides what to buy. So she's everything, right? But tomorrow there's one kid, or perhaps they move back into a bigger family or something else, so the family grows. And then now there is her mother visiting, and she says, hey, listen, I really like that rasam powder. Where did you get that? Oh, I got that from that paradise place in Hyderabad. Huh? Okay. Acha, acha. So now she's the influencer. Who is the purchaser and who is the user, right? So you see the difference. So these three roles, or these three influences of buying, they can be the same person, they can be the different person, and they can have a different perception of value from the same thing. One person says, I don't like that. The other person says, no, 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 that is great. Third person says, I don't care, whatever it is, just give me something, I'm hungry. Okay, so this is very important to understand. And now let us look at one or two examples. In corporate purchase office, okay, normally this is a very clear example. Corporate purchase office says we need 50 computers. For them, 50 computers are 50 computers. They really don't care. Then somebody says, no, 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 give me at least 8 GB RAM, give me at least TGB 2 GB NVIDIA graphics, give me this, give me that. Okay, so this is the corporate office versus the corporate user. They are different. They perceive the computer to be a different product. Retailer versus manufacturer versus the end user. Okay, so retailer says, wow, this is a great company, they always give me stock in time. But the end user says, what crappy product is this? It broke in 2 days, I brought it home and it doesn't work. So three people, three different perceptions of the company, of the brand, of the product, right? Then individual companies always target, remember, individual companies have found ways to classify customers: big, small, MSME, SME, LSE, which is medium and small, or large or medium, and extra super large clients and all that. They have their classifications. But they they have most of the time focused only on a single buyer group, which is like one kind of influencer or purchaser or user. So pharma industry, not to forget, they focus totally on doctors, and this is officially known. So sometimes you feel like gossiping about doctors, right? You're like, hey, you know what, we know how medicine works, it's dirty business. Oh, they influence. Yes, that's true. Listen, this is official, it is out there in the case studies, so it is true. So be aware of that, personally. But this is not about that. I mean, we're not here to discuss ethics, but I want you to know that the pharma industry has focused exclusively on doctors, because doctors write the prescription. Okay. Similarly, I already talked about the office equipment industry. They focus on corporate purchasing departments. Now, there may be a strong economic rationale. For example, for doctors, the strong economic rationale is, this is the person who's writing the prescription. If we influence him, if we give him 2 trips to Mauritius, he will give us business. Okay, economic rationale is there, right or wrong. Again, this is not the forum. Today is not the class for that. Okay, but the point is, even this can be changed. Okay, and that is what we're about to see. What a company did with their product. So this is a company called Novo Nordisk. Okay, and they were into insulin and sugar management. Sugar is diabetes, as we know. Okay, and what they did was, they said, that whenever somebody needs an insulin injection, they have to go to a doctor, or somebody who can administer that injection, and then this happens and that happens, and we know how that process works. First, somebody has to pick up this person from home, go to that place, deliver that person there. Then once this is done, bring that person back. And even before that, what needs to happen? What is the first step when you have to go to a doctor? What do you do nowadays in India also? Anyone?
So Google it out.
Google it out, right? Who is trustworthy, who's not? I mean, you know the headache, right? Right? You know the headache. There's a long, list of things to do even before going to a doctor. Yes, please.
Sir,
Someone.
sir, shall I, sir?
Yes, yes, please. Hmm.
Sir, this is Amit Kulkarni from Belgaum.
Yes, Amit.
Uh,
Hmm.
sir, I have a small doubt. As far as pharma industry is concerned,
Hmm.
as per the data, around 50% of the pharma industry runs without prescription. Is it true, sir?
See, that is in India. Okay.
Hello.
But that is, that is called over the counter, OTC. Okay.
Sir,
And
that's what
if,
I just typed it in a chat box, sir.
no, 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 absolutely, absolutely. That is true. But 50% of what, right? 50% is again a huge, huge population. I mean,
Sir,
a huge turnover,
Bando.
huge, right?
sir, sir,
So, so even if 50% works without prescription for whatever reason, again, honestly, I mean, I can get into details on pharma because this is a topic of interest for me, and I have done some work on it. Okay,
sir,
but I will spare those details, and I'll just say this, that
sir,
even if 50% of a market works on, let's say a particular method, right?
sir,
Because it has been, promoted in that way, because pharma companies found out that, by doing certain things to doctors, you can get more sales, right? Right or wrong, again, aside. Okay.
sir.
So
Definitely, sir.
this company, so the complexity of finding a doctor, a trustworthy person, and finding when this person is available. What does actually what happens in diabetes? Does somebody know that this is my time for insulin? What actually happens? I mean, if anyone knows, or if anybody has read about this, normally, sugar levels can drop without any warning. It's like blood pressure. It doesn't really warn. It doesn't tell you, hey, listen, tomorrow 8 a.m. I'm going to fall. You better start Googling now. It is 8 p.m. Sunday. And Monday morning, 8 a.m. I'm going to fall to 75. And you better start looking for a doctor now. It doesn't work like that, right? Same way sugar levels. Okay. Same way sugar levels. Because I know personally, I'm close to that age group where a lot of elderly people, or a lot of friends of mine, seniors of mine, they are in that zone. Okay, so there's suddenly a call comes. You know what? My sugar went down. Or my this thing went up. Or this thing happened. Okay, suddenly. So they realize that this is it should not remain dependent on doctors. They transferred that power to the user, and what they did was, you see this evolution of devices. Okay, so now after 19 in 1925, when they first created the insulin syringe, in 1985 is when they actually created something which was amazing, which was called NovoPen. Okay, NovoPen was a very simple, user friendly device for a sugar patient. Just go buy it, of course prescription based. Okay, and then once the person has it, just come back home, and they provide you all the instructions. And we all understand the literacy levels are different, right? This is Europe. I'm talking Europe, North America. They work in their own language, so the literacy is not a problem, right? For us, literacy is a problem, partly because we are always translating. We were all born Google translators. you know we were all translating from one language to another, and then finally we have come to some place. But for them, literacy is no problem. They are born in the language, that is the literacy, right? So the instructions are there, and they read those instructions and are like, okay, I know how to do this. And then there are videos, and then there is high speed internet, and so it is not that somebody is not able to download a video. And there are helplines which work, and there is there's a very strict law and order justice system. If something doesn't work, they are going to get sued for $10 billion straight away, right? So this is a system which already supports all this, right? So they saw that we are in this system, this is the problem, how can we utilize all the components of the system that we have been given to create a solution for our end user, right? And that is how they started creating this. So they created Novo Pen, then they created Novo LED, okay, a disposable. Then they created Flex Pen, then they created something for children also, okay, and then they created Flex Touch, and now they have internet connected devices with reminders and everything, okay, which for which I could not, you know, find something right away, uh, but I wanted to mention it to you. They've already evolved to the next level. You know, it sets off an alarm, it sets off a reminder, and so on and so forth. So this company totally shifted away from doctor to buyer. Now buyers are asking, you know, those who need this, they say, hey, listen, doctor, can you just write me this prescription? I need a flex touch. Okay. If the doctor says, oh, you know, why don't you do this? Why don't you take Roche? Or why don't you take Dr. Reddy's? Or why don't, oh, he says, no, no, no. I need flex touch. I need Novo Nordisk. I'll just manage it on my own. Okay. So I just cooked up some names. Dr. Reddy's and, you know, Roche are pharma companies, but they don't operate in Europe. But that was just for your example. Okay. Um, so look across complementary product and service offerings. This is the next path. Now, most of the products and services are seldom used in vacuum. Okay. There are other products and services which sometimes, in fact, most of the times, the buyers don't even, the sellers don't even educate, or they are not even mindful about telling you how to use your service. If you have this, then don't do this. If you see this, then don't do this. How many times you buy something when you know you really hear from somebody else saying, oh, listen, you're buying this, don't wash your cotton in this, okay? Or hey, listen, you're buying this essence, don't put this in this, it will spoil that. You're buying this or whatever, you know, spice, don't put this in that, okay? So you don't get that advice, but where you get, that is where value comes, okay? So for example, you know, many people, many families with many kids, you know, they go and watch movies, right? But when there is a little newborn, right, yes, you can leave that little child behind, you know, but there are sometimes there are movies you want to watch, and then, you know, you don't want the child to be there, right? But there is no play service where you can drop the child. So there is no movie theater which says, hey, listen, we have, you know, something which will take care of your child, right? I mean, there is no responsible place as such. So what do these things convey to you? I mean, anyone here can tell me, what does it convey to you when, you know, I'm sure all of us have seen those movie theaters. There still are those archaic, you know, old kind of movie theaters in our cities, you know, where you don't have any place to park a car. Do you like to go to such a movie theater? Anyone? Right? No, we are not desperate to go to those places, right? So similarly, you know, so this industry has to think about it. If movie theater industry is serious about, you know, people watching movies, then you probably have to do something about it. Now, I'm not saying yes, you know, you build, you know, parking and, you know, do this and do that. You have to find a solution to this problem, some solution, right? So that is where you can create a new blue ocean. Why did I mention this? Because a lot of countries, okay, movie theaters is a dying industry. Why? Because home theaters are picking up. Okay, so I've taken some examples very intently here. This is also, even in India, this is a kind of a declining industry, although it is a rising industry for another reason. Okay, it is rising because we have a young population. It is declining from the perspective of, you know, the people who are above the young population. You know, after you're married and this and that, few years down, most of the people don't care about the movie theater anymore. Okay, yes, you come back to life with your kids, and then you start watching, you know, all those cartoons in amphitheaters and, you know, wherever, right? um, or, you know, I mean, those cine theaters, right? But um, otherwise, uh, this is actually declining from that perspective, because the industry hasn't moved on. Yes, there is glamour and whatever, again, that's a separate discussion. But otherwise, there is nothing much offered in terms of blue ocean. Um, so, untapped value is hidden in complementary products and services. And a simple way to think is what happens before, during, and after your product is used. So, so one has to think holistically. What happens before my product is even purchased? How is it going to be purchased? And how is it going to be used? And how it is even going to be disposed of? Because there may be value even in the recycling. Uh, there was uh, there were some estimates about India. Anyone here can tell me what is the estimate of recycling industry in India? Anyone? Any ballpark number? How many people do you think it can employ, and how many? What is the value turnover that you think recycling has? Anyone? Please, anyone? You can Google it if you want to. That's fine. Yep, waiting for a response. Okay, so looks like a tough one. Hmm? There is, I was part of with mask and PPE kits. The opportunity is huge. 1.75 million people, 2% contribution to GDP. Dr. Swati. Um, okay, all right. So the recycling industry in India, the estimate, okay, and this is a very elementary estimate. Okay, I was doing something with IIM Bangalore, and we gave them our estimates for a competition. But then I learned later that the Niti Aayog has its own estimate or something. But again, these are all ballparks. $1 trillion recycling industry. $1 trillion. Can you imagine? And what is the GDP for India? And you can imagine adding $1 trillion to that. Okay, so it's a we have to look across. See, I'm a very applied person. I don't know how many of you have been able to go through a lot of developments, but this is what I do. Okay, I analyze, and I come across, and I build up scenarios. And what we also found, even I did independent research. It is the potential is huge for recycling, and it can employ. You can imagine how many people are needed for a $1 trillion industry, which is what, by the way, labor intensive. So it can utilize a lot of people. This clean India mission, I'm not talking about the Swachh Bharat thing, because it is government initiative, yes, which is very good, but it also comes with certain political thing. So I'm just going to keep that aside. I'm going to call it clean India. Okay, if we focus on cleaning India, just by focusing on cleaning India and keeping everything nice and clean, we can elevate the economy of this country. Period. Simple. Close. Argument done. Okay. But again, this is not in our hands entirely. But if you can think of a product or service, this is a huge market. Okay. So now there is an example. Now this is an example from Japan. This is an example from a hair cutting salon. Okay. And it is QB House. You can Google, and you'll probably see and read about it. What they did was they reduced the they cut out the unnecessary parts of the hair cutting experience. Now what was that unnecessary thing that some people did not want? See, typically even in India, when somebody would go for a haircut, I'm talking about men especially. Okay, I've never been inside a women's parlor. I have no idea. Okay, um, but in a men's parlor, typically in the old days, somebody would go in, and this guy would actually give you a nice massage, do a, your he would crank your neck left, right, do this, he would do things on your shoulder, and tone up your muscles, and put some oil and this and that. Okay, and it would be like a 1 hour job. Okay, that's what it used to be. So in Japan, QB House was founded by this guy, and he said, "Listen, we don't need this. Okay, there are. What did I tell about Japan? Time pressure, right? So there were people who said, "Listen, I don't want this luxury. Retired people, fine, but I have a job to do. I have a family to take care of. I have things to do. So I need a quick haircut." So they went to they started this chain, which has become very popular in Japan, grown up and fast very, very quickly. Okay, he said, okay, you come in straight, it's very easy, very quick. You get a simple straight haircut, you get out, you pay far less, because otherwise in Japan, services are very expensive. It would cost $50 or something. Okay, 40, 50, 20, whatever. This costs only $10, because you're in. There are some cutting tools, and that's it. You're done. You washed. In fact, they blow dry, and some of these places they even put a traffic light outside, so that you don't have to because Japan is a dense country, by the way. So look at how beautifully these things they understand about their culture. We need to do these things here. I'm not saying copy, but I'm just saying we need to be sensitive to our own people more. And when I say we, I'm talking about the leaders of business houses, the influencers like us who create leaders for tomorrow, right? So we need to bring this change. What they did was they said we can use a traffic light outside. So when the traffic light is red, that means there is somebody sitting inside. So you keep walking. People are coming, going, coming, going. Okay, and because it's a dense country, small country with a high density, so no issues. 10 people don't come in, that's okay. The next, whenever this customer is done, the light is green, somebody must be walking by needing a haircut, comes in, the barber gets their own, their next customer. Same like India, very much like India, in fact. Okay, because here you hardly find them sitting and wasting time, hardly. I mean, there is always somebody walking in. So very nice innovations, and again, looking across, complementary products and services, reduction of unnecessary things. Again, that value innovation. Remember. So we talked about this. Okay, high performance air wash and all the services. Okay, the next path is look across functional or emotional appeal to buyers. So competition in industry tends to converge not only on accepted notion, like I said. So is insurance an emotional buy or a functional buy? Do you buy insurance product because you want a return from it after 10 years, or do you buy insurance because I want to be emotionally secure, right? This is a typical example. Any other example anyone can give me which is an emotional buy versus a functional buy? Any product where you buy based on emotion vis-a-vis where you buy on function? There should be many. And yes, audience.
Gold.
I missed that. Please say it again.
Gold.
Gold. Yes, excellent example. Excellent example. Is it an investment or is it emotional, security? Excellent. Anyone else?
Even masks, sir.
Huh?
Even mask, we can say. Mask.
Mask.
Either for protection or for this appearing.
Okay, very good, very good. So you see, there are products, right? But then, have you seen fashionable masks also? Have you seen people wearing gold shirts also? Right? Have you seen women's saris and suits, with that gold zari and lining, right? So, so the point is, the purely functional can get some emotional also. The purely emotional can become, a little functional also. So if we mix that, so this mixing can result in new blue oceans. That is the point. So Then the other one is we can look across time. This is the last path. Look across time. Now this one is really one of the toughest ones. But there is an example for us, fortunately, and it has happened in front of our eyes. So we'll talk about it. But before that, what is looking across time? See, all industries, as I said in the beginning, we are people and people have finite lives. And people have finite lives, even if somebody lives 100 years, well, you are 16 only once, you know, and everybody is 10 to 20 only once. Everybody is young from, let's say, depending on where you start young from. For example, I will say a young adult from 21 because that's the legal definition. So I'll say a young adult from 21 to say 45 or 50. Okay, I'll call that young. Okay, so but everyone is young adult only once in their life. So we are finite from that perspective, and that is why, because organizations are made of people and people have finite perspectives bound by time, therefore most of the organizations end up looking into time, into a finite time, which is what will happen in my lifetime. And that is why this is very difficult, looking across time. Most of the people think my retirement, or my grandchildren, you know and some people will think my great grandchildren, some people. And yes, wish, everyone can wish, and it is good to wish, it is good to think positive. And but it requires a lot of work, right? So that aside, um, looking across time is very difficult, because first you have to live in today, then only there comes tomorrow, right? if someone if if a person who is part of an organization cannot survive today, cannot sustain today, what can they even think of tomorrow? So when there are red oceans is all about existing today, aaj, abhi, now, right, this time. Can I get to my office tomorrow morning, or will I find my card not working? You know what that means, right? Your electronic card not working when you come in the morning, it means bye bye. Sorry, we don't need you anymore. That's what I saw in California. I saw a lot of layoffs post 9/11, which was September 11, 2001. And then tens of thousands of people were laid off. My friends used to go to, happily would tell me, hey, listen, yeah, you know what, my job is safe, huh? No worries, huh? I'll come back, then we will go to the party tonight. I said okay. And then 10 minutes later, this person, hey, you know what, my card is not working. I said, oh, it's gone, his job is gone. Okay, so thing is, the environment is changing very fast, but people are focused all the time on saving their today within their finite time span. And that is why organizations have a very difficult job. So, however, now that we are aware of this, we also have to understand that if you can look beyond this as a person in your organization, as a key resource of your organization, you can become a gem for your organization by looking beyond, because then you are actually growing the organization beyond your retirement. You will then be perhaps the honorary chancellor, the honorary super chancellor, or something else. And the organization will say, listen, we don't want you to go, sir, you're 90, you must light the lamp, otherwise we will not do this convocation without you. You may be 99, sir, we are not going to let you go. You can barely walk, we'll come and get you from the home, we'll roll out a wheelchair for you, we need you. So so in that process, remember, the value innovation triangles that I showed you, the value is created not only for the buyer, not only for the organization, not only for the individual. It is the ecosystem which benefits from the value innovation. Okay, and that is why it is also difficult, because as I said amply, we are limited by our timelines. Okay, Now, what is an example which is fallen in front of our eyes, which we may or may not have noticed? Many people had raised a question yesterday, which was related to that. I'm not showing you a slide yet, but any thoughts on this? Any example about this? Very quickly. Okay. Now, do we have an example? Now, do we have a name come up? Yes. Now, do we have a name come up? Please tell me. We are done. Exact on dot. Uh, do you have a name come up?
Reliance.
Excellent. Who said that? Keshav.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Superb. See, we have seen the transition of Reliance from being a pure oil company. What was Reliance Industries, by the way? Reliance built the world's largest petrochemicals complex, and it saw that the downturn was coming, oil was going to die, and then it saw the renewables were coming. It saw electric vehicles had become a mandate in India also. It saw that COVID came and COVID would knock it down completely. What did this guy do? He went out, he sought Facebook, he sought um, Google, he's been seeking partnerships with the biggies of the world. And in that process, what this started as Geo has now become the center piece to Reliance. Eco-friendly, work from home. Look at oil, the dirtiest thing that affects our climate. Reliance was like, this is the company that is killing us oil. They are selling more oil because of Reliance. And now, it's eco-friendly, work from home. We are giving you 150 Mbps at very low price. And even Dhirubhai, even I'm sorry, um, yeah, Dhirubhai Ambani's dream was, even in his time, he had transitioned. By the way, this is not known to us, but I was reading more about him, and even he had transitioned. And now the his son has again transitioned the company, and he said data is the new oil, right? Although this was said many many years before in the US, but in India he proclaimed, he was the first one to say data is the new oil. And there is Geo Entertainment, there is Geo Savan, there is a huge host of services they have come up. Look at your My Geo app if you have Geo, or look it up on the web, and you will see the kind of ecosystem they are building up. And have you heard of Reliance getting into medicine? Anyone? Online medicine? Net meds? Yes. Okay. So this has been there. This has happened right in front of our eyes. We thought that Reliance was, thinking, the data is centric and this and that. But actually, this was a man desperate to get out of oil, because this man saw that oil was going to decline. It was not going to be the world's biggest business if it continued to be in oil. And this happened in front of our eyes. Okay. So with that, I would like to thank you for uh, being a nice and participative audience. You've put in a lot of comments, I see, and a lot of people volunteered uh, with the responses. If there are any questions, I can quickly take a few questions, or we can, I have the next session in a little while, and then we will, take that session and we will continue the discussion. Okay. So any questions? Let me scroll through the comments in the meantime to see if I have missed anything. Yes,
Sir,
art pieces are emotional bias. That was right. Mhm. Some medical products, earthen vessels. Yes, Maheshaji said, he told us the value of the recycling industry. Yes, it can add a tremendous amount of output to our GDP, tremendous, and it can employ literally so many people we are losing to automation, especially at the lower end of the jobs. These people need to be reskilled and redeployed, and we can have a wonderful, nice country, very clean, very nice. We will all be, continuing to be proud of and to hand over to our next generation. Yeah, I think I have looked at all the comments. Without description, we saw that. Yeah, I think I have reviewed almost all the comments. If I have missed anything, please let me know. Otherwise, I think, yes. Any questions?
sir,
Yes,
sir, I have told about the substitutes and the alternatives.
yes, yes, please.
So in the Porter's five forces framework, we have a set of substitutes at the bottom,
Hmm.
as well as whether the alternative will fit to the set of suppliers. Is that right?
Your
We
voice is
look for
fading in.
when we look for alternative raw materials.
Yes.
Will it suit for this in that position?
So, yes, yes. So, when, in manufacturing environment, there are, traditionally, there was a constraint on materials, but now there are different types of materials available. Even I was looking at 3D printing. I was surprised to see that there are different raw materials for 3D printing also. They are not all the same. Some of the materials for 3D printing, to your point, because of education, because of manufacturing, you're talking about, right? And substitutes and alternatives. So some of these materials are flexible, even after they have been 3D printed. Some are brittle, some are heavy, some can float in water, some will sink in water. So I was so surprised to see, because I didn't expect that 3D printing has evolved so much in terms of input materials. So these are, so substitute is something, as I said before, which gives you a similar functionality. Okay. But alternative is something which gives you similar value. So in manufacturing, as long as, let's say if I have to deliver toughness, then from my engineering days, I think I remember aluminum is one of the toughest ones, right? So then I need a material. If I'm looking for an option, then I need to have a material which has the same property, the same technical property called toughness, right? But if I'm looking for a substitute, yeah, if I'm looking for a substitute, right? And if I'm looking for an alternative, then perhaps I can redesign the entire part. I can say, why should it be so heavy, right? Perhaps I can provide this part at a cheaper price, and even if it breaks, it may be easily available so that it can be serviced, it can be removed, and it can be replaced. So there are different strategies in manufacturing. So I mean, this is a very big discussion. Your question is very interesting and very good question, especially from manufacturing perspective. And it has so many options. I mean, there are so many strategies which we can bring into this discussion from different manufacturing industries. Some, I'm sure you have seen, that there are, even within your car, there are parts that initially they used to repair. Now when you go to the this car shop, what they will do is they'll say, oh sir, we will just replace this. And you say, oh, so is it going to cost an ocean? Oh, no, no, no. This has become much cheaper. No problem. It will cost you only 1,000. Repair is in fact 1,500. So we will replace it. Why? Because now the labor cost is going up, because people are becoming scarce. So there are a lot of dynamics in manufacturing. So that is why this becomes very complex. That is why I said in my presentation, it can be tangible, it can be intangible, it can be physical, it can have some other form, it can be a service or it can be a product. Your substitutes and your alternatives. I mean, this has now become complex. But the good thing about it, this new scenario is that it gives you the options to be creative. These options were not there before. Okay.
Right. Thank you.
I hope I've answered your question. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? Any other thoughts? Okay. Great then. So what I'm going to do is let us all take a pause, and I think we have our session in another 15 minutes or so. Yeah, about 20 minutes. 11:45 is the time. So we will we can hang around on this link, or if people want to, they can fall off and come back in 20 minutes. Take a break and get fresh or whatever. Yeah, and yeah, please feel free to take a break. Yeah,
Yeah.
and then in
Uh,
20 minutes, 11:45, we will start the second session.
yeah. Thank you very much, Dr. Nitin Varma, sir. We will now break for 20 minutes. Dear participants, we will join at 11:45 sharp. Thank you.